Hey y'all, today's video I wanted to use to just talk a little bit about MEXT end of term procedures. So my MEXT scholarship is ending this year, so in a couple of months. So I've been getting emails and having to deal with some procedures that come with um, the end of your MEXT scholarship. So I just wanted to take the time to talk about one of those things today. And that's going to be the return flight because that's what I've done most recently. So, as you all probably know, if you're someone who's trying to get the MEXT scholarship or you're on the MEXT scholarship, MEXT covers your like two flights for you, your initial flight into Japan and then your last flight out of Japan when you finish your studies and graduate and all that stuff. And so right now it's January 2024 and my scholarship ends like the end of March. Oh my gosh, it's not 2024. It's January 2025 and my scholarship ends March 2025. So I started getting emails about this before I went home for Christmas break. So that was December. May have been like early December. I got an email from the secretary of my grad school. And she was like, hey, the deadline is coming up for you to apply for your return flight back home. And the way this works is MEXT will only like buy you your flight if you tell them you need the flight, right? Obviously, because that's clearly like an enormous expense, and they're not going to just be buying flights that are going to waste. So you have to actually apply, like send an actual notification in, like, yes, I'm going home, pick a date, and then in that case, they will buy the flight and you'll be covered. But obviously, not everyone chooses to go home. And so, in order to reduce that expenditure, they will obviously not buy flights for people who tell them that they don't want the flight or they don't need the flight, right? So, it seems like most of this stuff happens through your graduate school. So obviously, like the exact way this is working, like the exact procedure, is going to differ not only by like department, right? I'm in the grad school of medicine, so my grad school of it's not even the grad school of medicine. It's my department within the grad school of medicine. So my department is hematology oncology. We have a secretary for the international students within the hematology oncology department, and that's within the graduate school of medicine within Kyoto University. So you have like five different layers of like level of fluctuation that could occur based on your specific situation. So once again, depending on your school, which graduate school you're in, and then your department, you even have like a secretary for international students. Like I'm telling you guys, the rabbit hole of like things, procedures, MEXT wise, is just absolutely endless. There's no set structure to these things, which is one of the reasons I feel compelled to make videos about my experience because it's just there's no structure. So yeah, in my specific case, and I think this happens just at Kyoto University. You're gonna get an email from your secretary, like in your individual department, and this secretary is communicating with obviously the people in the department that are higher up for your university as a whole. So the people who don't speak Japanese and are in touch with MEXT, they're getting in touch with, in my case, the secretary who's in charge of the international students in my department. And then she sends an email in English to us about what we need to do. So maybe early December, she emailed me. She's like, hey, the deadline to apply for your return flight home is like, I think it was December 13th, right? So maybe they emailed a couple of weeks, maybe up to like 3 weeks, 4 weeks in advance, more likely 2 weeks. And she was like, yeah, just submit this back to me. Basically, you have to pick which form you're going to submit. And each form is like a different answer to whether or not you need the flight. So there's obviously the yes, I need the return flight back home form. And then it's an Excel sheet. You put in the information that they need, like I think it's like your name, your school, your passport number, your student ID number, Maybe they need your department. Um, and then stuff that's really important. What is happening, y'all? Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. I'm filming on my MacBook for the first time, and my MacBook is new. I don't know how to use Macs, and so a lot of weird stuff may be happening that I can't anticipate. I apologize. Um, what else do you need? And then most important things are like your what date you want to go home. So they give you like an option to put the date you want to fly home. Um, and I think I don't know. There's obviously you can't just pick any date, like, but I think you're able to pick within the last week of March or so. So yeah, they give you the choice there, and then they ask you your like more personal information, like your address back in your home country, and then your address in Japan and stuff. It's like there's a lot of personal information you need to put in. So that's form number one if you want to go home. Form number two, if you don't want to go home, is the like deny the flight sheet. And it's the same kind of Excel sheet situation. You fill out all your personal information and send it back. I feel like there was a third sheet, but like that wouldn't make sense. So maybe there wasn't. Maybe the third document she attached to the email was just like instructions or something. So basically, you need to pick what you're gonna do and then like submit it back to your grad school by the deadline so that they can then submit it to the higher ups by the actual like MEXT deadlines that are internal. Nobody knows those. One important thing I wanted to talk about here is that there's like a choice within this choice. So obviously, initially, you have to pick whether you're gonna like need the flight home or not. But within that, there's like a little bit of grace because some people, like in a situation like mine, you're not so certain whether or not you're like graduating or not. And so to have to pick by mid-December whether or not you need the flight is like you're not sure, so you don't know what to pick. Because there are some ambiguous situations, like stuff isn't very black and white for everyone. And so in that case, you're able to, and once again, this was for my department in my situation, so Kyoto University maybe, you're able to apply to get the flight back home. So you can submit the yes sheet, like, yes, I want the flight back home initially. And then within a certain amount of time, you're still able to like cancel that application if in the next like month or so you figure out, oh, actually, I am staying, I don't need the flight. So you do have, there's a little bit of leeway in this specific case. So that you don't end up accidentally submitting the decline sheet and then you find out, oh wait, I need to go home and then you don't have a flight. Like that would be really bad. So in this case for the flights, if this is you or this will be you in the future, maybe this happens to you, you end up in this ambiguous case, it's probably worth asking, even if they don't tell you outright, like, oh, you're allowed to apply for the flight back home and then possibly cancel it like a month later. Maybe ask them if that's a thing you can do because it's totally valid. It's happening to me at Kyoto University. So in your case, your university, whatever, definitely don't feel weird about asking. It's a totally valid thing. And you may just find out that, yeah, that is an option you had and people just didn't tell you, which is a thing that happens a whole lot. You don't get all the information you need a lot of times, so it's really important to be like hyper proactive about what you want and what you need, because chances are high that people aren't going to give you what you need outright without you asking for it or sometimes even fighting for it. So, yeah. That is the return flight situation. So for me, I applied for the return flight, so mid-December. And then now, let's see, it's a month later. So it's like January. It's not a month later. It's like 3 weeks later. And the secretary is asking again. She's like, if you've decided what you want to do, you're able to submit the form to me now, like again, to cancel your previous application. So if I don't cancel the application now in January, then in March, they're going to send me a flight ticket. Oh my gosh, it's happening again. I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to edit this out. This is just what it's going to be because I can't. I will get a flight ticket in March. But yeah, then if I decide to cancel it, then no one had to spend any extra money. MEXT isn't going to have bought the flight. Nobody's going to have paid, and then it went to waste. So, yes, you can cancel the application now a little bit later and then not have to worry about it. So you get those two options, just for anyone who for whom that may be helpful to in the future. What else? One other thing I learned. Yeah, I think this was the third document that was attached to the email, was like some rules about how to do this thing. And one of those rules was that you're not allowed to use the flight for like a temporary trip back home. So that's, if I was going to use that back then, that's the one thing I was thinking. I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to like go home for good. So for now, I might as well just apply for the flight. And then if I end up staying, I can just go visit home. And then I can go home cheaper and only have to pay the like flight back to Japan. But that's like written in the document that you're not allowed to do that. So maybe don't do that. So yeah, I think that's not allowed. That's all for the return flight situation that I can think of. Those were the most important points I wanted to share with you all. So yeah, hopefully that is helpful to someone and you can learn from my situation. I will be obviously doing more updates for this whole end of MEXT term period that I'm in right now, the last 3 months of my MEXT Scholarship. And I hope to share a lot of that with you. And yeah, any other questions you have about the end of MEXT, things that I'm going through right now, questions I may not have thought of, definitely don't hesitate to leave it in a comment below, and I'll do my best to find out that information, at least for how it's working at Kyoto University, and share that information for you in another video. But that's all for now. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Mata ne. Bye.